Greetings! Welcome back and/or welcome to my channel. I am Fire Lotus the Witch. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that bell. Go ahead and hit that bell icon so you get all the notifications of when I post and/or go live. So, today is going to be a fun day. I've got some witchy tips for beginners. I've got like 2 books that I'm going to show y'all for they're very, very great for beginner tips. And other than that, we're just going to chat and talk and yeah, hang out. I also just found out that I can also share, which is amazing because I did not know I could do that. Now, all right, sorry about that. I had to share it. Hello, I love you too. All right, so holy shit. Also, I did want to apologize. So I'm going to rework things because I posted a TikTok and actually got some good feedback. There's an app. Hello. There's an app. I forgot the name, but apparently there's an app to where it actually helps you. It makes it easier to post on different platforms because with everything that I have going on, I'm still like falling short of actually making content. So I will no longer give dates on when I will post videos. Hello. And the reason that is because like yesterday, I had all intents and purposes of making the candles and making the witchy beginner tips. And then after my live, it was just like, nope, you're done. You've used up all your bones and your spoons. So, interesting though, because that did work out because my partner actually got to get off of work early yesterday and surprised me. So I actually got out and about yesterday, made a blood sacrifice to get cat food. That's always fun. Not literally, but like, long story short, there was, we buy the 9 Lives cat food because they're like $1 something. There's a reason I'm telling you this. I had the most amazing day yesterday. But like due to the cat food shortage, it as soon as they get it in, it's like gone. So somebody tried to hide one on the second to the top shelf at the very like top of it. Good morning. And I went to reach in, and you know how like all the metal shelves, they have that like corner like rectangle piece. So I went to grab the bag and I ripped my hand away, and in the process of that, I took about 1.5 inches off of this. So that was fun. But the reason yesterday was so fun, also, I'm so sorry. I've honestly been struggling too. But obviously you have more stuff going on, so I would definitely still be sending you energy, and I'm hoping to be able to get your candles that I talked to you about today and get those set up. The Dollar General we went to yesterday did not have them. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Dollar Generals, but like normally candles never had an issue getting them. I do now. Of course. But yeah, when I ripped my finger back, there's like a little piece on the other side that just went. But it was cool because we knew the manager of the store, so like, and my partner's like, why are you freaking out? And I'm like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The last thing I need to be doing is bleeding throughout the store. But the reason that was so cool was because I took 2 edibles. Before I say this, YouTube. In no way, shape, or form am I encouraging the goods or sales of illegal stuff, okay? It is legal in the state that I live in, which is Florida. So I took 2 edibles, small, they're like 10, 15 milligrams a piece, just to see, because originally, around 3 or 4 o'clock, that's like my downtime when I like reconnect from everything. And then my partner surprised me, so we got to go out in town. And by the time we got into town, they were kicking in. I had a conversation with a complete stranger in Dollar General. My partner knows her, but I do not. Had a complete conversation with them. We went to the smoke shop that we go to because my partner had to pick up more kratom. Got to talk to the owner, and we both actually stood there for like 30 minutes, all 3 of us carrying on a conversation. Hello. And it was so cool because when we got out to the car, I looked at my partner and I'm like, I just actually carried on a conversation with complete strangers. And in the process of that, I'm networking because I'm going to help him get in touch with 2 people that I know that sell kratom. I would talk about kratom more on my other platforms, but it's a very, very gray area because depending on what state you're in, it can actually be illegal. Florida, it's legal. Alabama, I think it's actually illegal there now. If you don't know what kratom is and you want to kind of fall down a rabbit hole of just exploring, um, just type in kratom. It's a plant that's derived from, it's like in the same family as coffee plants. And depending on, obviously, before you even digest this, if you have a doctor, talk to them. If you're on medication, also talk to them, because any herbal medication can interact with your other medications. Especially if you're on any type of SSRI, certain herbs that you can find in teas can actually prevent the SSRIs from actually even working. So always check with your doctor. But what kratom can do, and it's honestly a miracle herb. And the reason that I say that is no, it does not get you high at all. Um, with me, I take it when I can get it because I have ADHD and I have depression and anxiety, and it brings me out of that. Um, a lot of the people that, if you ever have, and I'm also about to say something that I've never told anybody outside of my own life. If you have any type of opiate problems, me and my partner have been clean for 3 years now, thanks to Kratom. I introduced it to him. So yeah, so always know that, like, there's a lot of things that I have not talked about that I'm slowly going to be talking about. To For one, I want to talk about it, but for two, I think I'm going to be able to relate to more people once they find out my past. Um, but yeah, he takes it, and then, hello. Oh, I did not know that with grapefruit juice. I'm going to have to look into that. But he takes it, but anybody who has like fibromyalgia, or, and again, I'm not a doctor, but fibromyalgia or chronic pain, definitely check into kratom. It could help. Now, with that being said, if you do have depression or bipolar, watch taking kratom. The reason I'm saying that, it is not physically addictive, which means if you cannot get it, you're not going to go through physical withdrawals. But when it starts to wear off, it's like a mental crash. And if you're on prescribed ADHD medicine, you understand what I mean by that, when it starts to wear off. And you cannot like take too much of it, because this plant, the reason it's so cool is it can actually upset your stomach if you take too much of it. So if you do take too much of it, you'll actually get really, really nauseous. And the only way to stop that is throwing it up. But again, everybody is different. I love it. It's changed my partner's life. It's helped my mother. The person who introduced it to me at the store in Alabama, that I'm not going to mention, I was actually capping it back then. So that was my job, of standing there and actually putting the powdered herb in the capsule. She has a lot of medical conditions, and before it was brought to her, she basically lived in her bed. Like, she could barely move. And one of her friends brought it to her because she's originally from Colorado, and she tried it, and for the first time in like 5 years, she could actually get up and do things. So she basically focused on it. She also has her degree in, I don't know what it's called, but like the herbal doctor thing. Interesting fact, that is not Alabama does not recognize that. But yeah, interesting story with that. And I'm experimenting with some of the edibles that I have to see if I would be able to take a low dose of them and still be able to function, because I take basically the only medication I'm on right now besides kratom is Delta 8. I'm not even actually on marijuana. I'm just on Delta 8 because it's easier to find here. But anyways, hi, hello. All right, so let's talk. Two beginner books. Before I bring these up, these are not only great for beginners, but if you want a book to kind of refresh, refresh everything and kind of respark that, here are two good books. Now, I was told one of these books had a problematic chapter in it. I did not really come across anything problematic. But as y'all know where I stand with that, even if you have a problematic book, there are still a lot of great information that you can take away from that, and just not, don't take the problematic stuff. The first one is by Julius, I'm going to butcher this last name, Julia Days. It is Witchery, Embrace the Witch Within. This is actually a really good book. As you can tell, as I bookmark it with a Band-Aid. But this book, it's easy to read, and I'm about to read some of the, oh yeah, there's the cover of it, The Witchery. So you have part 1, Root Work, What is Magic, The Power of Magic, Attitude, Q&A for new witches, Unleash Your Power, The Art of Self-Love, Part 2, The Craft Unrevealed, Beginning Your Magical Practice, Meditation, Grounding, Raising Energy, Manifestation, Amplifying Your Inner Sense, The Moon and the Witch and the Seasons of the Witch, Part 3, Practical Magic, Connecting with Your Inner Witch, A Book of Shadows and Grimoires, Creating Your Altar, Harnessing Ancestral Wisdom. I think that was one of the things that they said were kind of problematic. Cleansing and Protection, Part 4, The Witch's Garden of Herbal Magic, Introduction into the Witch's Garden, Attractive Love, Healing a Broken Heart, Protection, Success, Wealth, Abundance, Luck, Healing, Purification, New Beginning, Psychic Enchantment, Manifestations, Create Your Own Spell, Why Are My Spells Not Working? Part 5, Practice Responsibility, 10 Ways to Heal the Earth, Integrating in Witchery. And then it also has list of spells, potions, and practices. It has rituals, spells, potions, practices, the Witch's Garden of Herbal Magic, Healing a Broken Heart, Protection, Success. And it, like, all from the very beginning of the book, it has all of where those are at. Now, when it comes to a beginner book, one of the number one things that you want to look for is in the back of the book, because it credits the author of where they got their information, which is... Wait, please tell me this has this. Oh, wow. Never mind, because this book does not have... Does it? Let me see. Stay connected. Ah, yes, it does. Okay, it's not big, but number one thing you want to look for in books is resources. The reason that is because you would be able to go find these books or find these information and cross-reference the information in this book. And if you grew up before the internet, we've already done that. That's literally how we learned about things before the internet. We literally had to, whatever books that we could find in our local libraries, we had to write that down, cross-reference that, and if we got enough time to do on the computer, we had to go do that. Trust me, y'all, these newer witches, y'all have it so much easier with actually finding content. Like, I saw a video today, it actually made me cry, and this is also going to show how much of a book nerd I am. So, we always remember that one moment where we did get to go to a bookstore for the first time, and we go to, like, Barnes & Noble's, my personal favorite, Barnes & Noble's. I also like Books A Million. And you go to the witchcraft section, and normally it was just one bookcase. This woman went, and there is, like, 6 bookcases that are completely filled with witchy books now. That is fucking insane, and I love it so much. Now, the second one. This was actually sent to me by my follower and my friend, Kat, which is Protection Spells, Clearing Negative Energy, Banishing Unhealthy Influences, and Embrace Your Inner Power by Armira Hitchcock, author of The Green Witch. And this is that book. Now, for beginners necessarily... it's a great book to have, but it doesn't really go over, like, the basics. No, it does. I lied. So it does. But yeah, like, these are good books. They're really good to follow. Now, the most important thing as well. Oh my god, yes, I do remember the floppy disk. That just, like, shook me to my inner childhood core. Like, I remember my first computer class. We had 2 little envelopes that, the last school that I went to, 8th grade, because I dropped out in the 8th grade. I was also, like, a year behind, so I was, like, the oldest one in the class. Anyways, that teacher, if I ever get to track her down in real life, I'm straight up, she was a witch. 100% she was a witch. She had, like, Halloween. She was the only one to, like, go all out on Halloween. But, she was my favorite teacher, and I was kind of hurt. I was, like, one of her favorite students, because when we got to decorate the envelopes, obviously you already knew what I was going to put on it, and she called me up to her office, and she's like, I love this so much, and she kind of, like, pulled me in closer, and she goes, but you're very well aware of, like, what school you're at. And what that remark was, my 8th grade world history class, we had to skip the entire chapter of world religions, because the first day that we opened it and found out what we were, and literally, by the way, what I mean by this is literally it was the title, like Hinduism, Buddhism, and a short, brief description, and that was it. We had so many teachers call our history class and fucking bitch him out, because my children they're Christian. They should only learn about the Christian blah blah blah. So yeah, that's the type of school that we are. Old Lotus knows 1963 model. I love that. But yeah, this is a very good book to have, obviously. Do I have that one in here? No, I do not. Okay. So yeah, no, I do not. And then obviously, as problematic as who I'm about to say is, um, if you can get your hands on this book, even if you are a beginner witch, jump for it because I personally don't believe it is the ultimate book of shadows. It's more of like a brief encyclopedia, but it gives you a huge point on like where to go. And that would be the Silver Raven Wolf's the ultimate book of shadows for the new generation, Solitary Witch, Silver Raven Wolf. And yes, I know this is an old, well, is it an old book? When was this? Oh my god. Tell me the day you posted it. Haha. Okay. 2005. It's not that old. I actually found this secondhand at a bookstore somewhere in, I want to say Panama City, Florida, for a vacation. But when I tell you this goes over everything, it literally almost goes over everything. Runes. It's got an entire section of astrology, runes, religions, different gods, different goddesses, you name it. It's probably mentioned in this book. Now, obviously, she is a very, very problematic thing, but with that, not that I'm defending her, we also have to learn that when it comes to, here we go, when it comes to race, right? The whole race thing, because normally when somebody says problematic book, it has things that were taken from practices that shouldn't. We also know that race is a taught thing, okay? Which means when you are a baby, you just see another baby, right? The time and era that she was in, they kind of were, some people were very ignorant. Actually, a lot of people were very ignorant back then. But there's still a lot of great information. Now, with that, do I suggest getting your kids the Teen Witches book that she has by her? No. No, I do not. That's where I consider a lot of the problematic information because there are spells in there that will set a witch up for failure because they're just not feasible. Like at all. Now, if you do have a kid, and they're like in school and they have to study, get them and obviously make sure you're with them. Like they don't do this on their own. You can also use a tea light. Get a yellow candle. You can also use white to just represent yellow. Get a yellow candle. Get them a key necklace. It can literally be like a house key, an old skeleton key, a tiny key. It doesn't matter. Get them a key necklace and get them either a like a ring with tiger's eye on it or a piece of tiger's eye that they can like mess with in their hands. I guess stimming in their hands with it, or a bracelet. The reason this is when they're studying, and it doesn't matter for what test, when they're studying, if you can, light the candle and let them hold the tiger's eye and let them wear the key around their neck as they're studying and taking this information. For one, tiger's eyes can help with confidence. It's one of the reasons I wear it all the time. But it can also help you retain knowledge. On top of that, the skeleton key or a key when wearing a test or just in general, it can help you unlock knowledge that you already know. I used to do it when I was in school and it definitely did help a lot. And I wish somebody, here's a parenting idea if you are a parenting witch. I wish somebody would create a book to where like you can teach your kids witchcraft, but like with the correspondence aspect while teaching them their like normal homework. I think that would be really, really cool. I don't know why, but I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, these are two great books. I should have brought more up here, but I didn't really think about it until like I was already setting shit up. I'm also late because I did not let my phone charge enough for me to do this live, so I wish I knew this back in school. I learned it from where did I learn that from? I think I learned it from the 2002 or 2001 Spell a Day Almanac by Llewellyn's. You remember what you lost with the key to. Exactly, exactly. You'll remember what you lost. And I love small things like this because they really do help. Now, with that, and another thing that I wanted to talk about, and y'all have kind of like Lotus homework, we'll call it, in Christopher Penczak's The Temple of Witchcraft book, the very first one, it teaches you how to create an inner temple. Now, in this inner temple, and if you do this type of magic, literally it completely obsoletes all tools, crystals, tools, anything like that. This is a type of way of doing complete ritualistic magic if you wanted to, or even high magic, all in your head. But there's a technique that he talks about to where you can carry, either it can be a necklace, it can be an actual totem, or even a crystal, or even a certain word that when you say it, it automatically gets you in the mind state to do magic. I use it. I'm not going to say what I use, but I use that technique because it's really, really cool. And it's kind of like the technique that I was talking about yesterday. Like if I'm having a bad day and then I have spell work to do or a reading, I can kind of like shift it to where it almost separates me from my daily life versus my witchy life, if that makes any sense. And that's the process of it. And everybody's going to be different, but this goes with the same thing of if you want to remember your dreams and or start lucid dreaming. Besides reading a book teaching you how to lucid dream, you can actually do things in your physical waking life that trains your brain to actually trigger you to lucid dream. Hold on, Bubbers. I know, I'm sorry, but the sun's coming up and it's getting much warmer in here. I hate my house sometimes because like it can be 80 degrees outside and it'll at least be like 20 degrees colder in the house. But with that, oh my god, brain, reel it back, reel it back, reel it back. We were talking about dreams. There we go. Lucid dreaming. What you're gonna do is basically, and obviously I got to go once again. Oh, generally know your balance is keeping you. Oh, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. And I definitely will be doing that. So what you're going to do is obviously try not to do this in public because you may get stared at a lot. When you walk in a room, you're going to turn, flip the switch, the light switch on and off, and look at the light. And when it comes on, say you are awake. And you're going to have to do this repetitively for probably months, depending on how fast your brain picks it up. That's one thing. Look at a clock. An actual digital, a dialogue clock, not a digital one. And when the hands start moving, tell yourself you are awake. Interesting fact, clocks are not supposed to work in dreams. You're also not supposed to be able to see your reflection and or you're not supposed to be able to read in dreams. So with that being said, if you wear jewelry and or tattoo, like this right here, look down at your tattoo and feel it and say, I am awake. What you're training your brain to do is these certain things, if you act them out in your dream, and for some reason it teaches your brain to actually remember if I have this ring on or not, or if I have this on, or if the light switch doesn't work, then it'll automatically trigger yourself to basically do the lucid dreaming. So you'll wake up in your dream and you'll have more control over your dream. There are so many other techniques that you can find online to do this. Hello, I'm doing okay. I hope you're doing okay too. But yeah, things like that can bring... I love explaining things like that because it shows people that if you've ever heard me say, I live, breathe, and just live magic, that's what we mean by that. When you start practicing magic, it gets to a point where you find magic in every aspect of your life. Now, like I've said before earlier this week, you are going to have moments to where like you feel completely cut off from the source or from magic in general. It's just a phase. Kind of imagine it like the dark moon of the phase. The dark side of the moon. There we go. Or actually the new moon. The new moon is also called the dark moon, which is coming up tomorrow, by the way. Which is weird because I heard it was, yeah, tomorrow is Wednesday. Okay, yeah, it's coming up tomorrow. First new moon of March. Whoop, whoop. Now the second or third may be intense here in the United States, energetically wise, just because I think it's the 3rd. I could be wrong on the date, but March starts the Pluto return or Saturn return. Yeah, Saturn return for the United States. What the fuck ever that's going to entitle. Now also remember this. A lot of people, when they heard that, they're like, oh, okay, this year is just going to be crazy. It is, but not just on a continent, or not continent, not just for the US. That also means every individual that was born in the United States will also be affected by this. So we're all going to be going through this astrological shift. And now I would have to talk to a couple of people that I know to try to figure out how I can explain where to look at in your birth chart to see where it's going to affect you at. And this is also going to prompt my next thing that I'm going to talk about astrology. I already feel it. My mom is going to have surgery on Wednesday. OMG, I will definitely be, like, I will have her in my thoughts, that everything goes smooth and well. But me and my partner were talking yesterday because he has this very weird aspect about him where a lot of chapters begin when they normally shouldn't. Now, let me elaborate on that. I brought up Mercury retrograde to him when he was working at a car shop. And, oh, okay, well, I hope it goes well, and I hope she recovers very quickly and, like, fast, and, like, everything is perfect. But when he was working there, I told him, I was like, look, this one's going to be a doozy because we have, like, 6 other planets also in retrograde. So I was like, within this period of time, you're going to see cars come in, but all of these cars are going to have the exact same problem. And of course, it wasn't until after Mercury retrograde I asked him, and I was like, so, did you see it? And he's like, actually, yeah, I did. Tires, oil, and battery. And I was like, yep. So with that, though, normally with him, depending on what planet Mercury is also, like, trining in as it goes retrograde, he has some of the best luck ever. And this is the reason that I say when you have a retrograde of a planet, no matter if it's Mercury, no matter if it's Pluto, Saturn, or any other ones, don't freak out just yet. Because depending on what house out of the 12 houses on your birth chart, depending on which planet that Mercury is in, for one, there's multiple other variants to go in with this. But for one, it signifies what area of your life could be affected. And then, okay, sweet. And then it can actually be one of the luckiest times that you will ever go through during that specific, like, week or month. Now, with that being said, I use Astro Matrix. It's a free app. There's 2. You can get everything for free, or you can do a subscription of it. But I've been using it off and on for like 4 years now. And holy shit. But if you have ADHD and anxiety mix, do not hyperfixate on it like I used to. That can spiral you. But the reason that I push this app, for one, I've talked to the creator, and no, I'm not being, like, not a paid promotion. But they also have a YouTube channel breaking down how to actually use the app and how to kind of read your birth chart. But the reason this app is so cool and I push it more is because when you enter your information, and if you do not know the exact time that you were born, you can still get a general chart pulled from the day that you were born versus actually being specific with the time and location. But it doesn't only just give you a breakdown of, it gives you a personalized horoscope. And I mean very detailed. On top of that, you get a quote of the day, you get a magic number of the day, you get a tarot card spread of the day. You get a moon calendar, you get you can even get an hourly update of where each planet is going. And it's amazing. It also because see, when you pull your birth chart and get somebody to read it, your entire birth chart in a whole breaks you down on like a microscopic level, we'll say. And depending on how well you can actually read into it, you can literally, basically, it's like a blueprint of your entire life. But that also breaks it down. And then you can pick each different aspect, because it also goes with earth, air, fire, and water, depending on how it's going to affect you. But the cool thing is, and that I realized with it, and the reason that I like it so much, is if you know how a situation could play out, then you have the advantage right then and there. So like me and my partner, we have this thing when Mercury retrograde goes into planet, because I love you to death, but he sometimes sucks at communication. So I'm like, I'll look at him. I'm like, look, remember Mercury retrograde. So we have to make sure we are saying, like, we get the point across. How do you find out about the rarely mentioned asteroids on your birth chart? That I would have to look into, because I myself don't even know that. There is a symbol. It should be a symbol, I believe. Either that, or a lot of people don't know this, and this is the reason I don't talk about astrology, because I'm not an expert. But there are multiple different types of birth charts, and more detailed birth charts versus the ones that we're used to seeing. I know I have one, and I have Chiron, and it's in fucking Aries, and I fucking hate Chiron. I wish it could just go floop right out the fucking window, because every single time it goes into Aries, or if it goes into, it just, yeah, it's the wounded healer. Or what that's known as is the wounded healer. I need to find someone to walk me through my birth chart and explain everything. You and me both. I've had 2 people do it before. Bubbers, I love you, but I can't sit the way you want me to sit. The first person, my old roommate, but you know Greek Cryon. This is true. The reason it affects me so much is because I'm an Aries, and then I'm also an actual wounded healer, so like it very deep. Hello, glad to be here. I just wanted to ask you the name of the app you're talking about. Astro Matrix. You can find it in the App Store, and I think they're on both stores. Yeah, apparently there's an asteroid for spirit guides and other stuff that I've never seen on a free birth chart. I didn't even know that. But my old roommate, the one who had like the coven, he looked at my roommate, or he looked at my birth chart, and he goes, "Oh my god." And I'm like, "Oh my god, what?" And he goes, "You're basically fucked from the beginning." And I'm like, "Can you elaborate?" So we went into a little bit of detailing, and I'm like, "All right." Fast forward 2 years later, um, um, I was at the Blue Crystal, by the way. If you were anywhere near Gainesville, Florida, and you would like to visit a really cool store, Blue Crystal, that is BLU without the E and then Crystal. They normally have, they've had, sometimes they'll have rune readers there, psychic mediums there to where you can get a reading. They have card readers, they sell crystals, herbs. I love it. I also know the owner. I find it funny my last exes were my other 2 main signs, Virgo and Cancer. Ooh. I find, like, me and my partner, he's a Pisces, and I'm fire. So we're fire and water combined. It's very weird. But when I was in there, somebody came in and we sparked up a conversation, and she actually viewed my chart. And she's like, "No, you're not fucked from birth." She goes, "You're gonna have a couple of challenges, but other than that, you're no, you have a cool birth chart." Because see, with my birth chart, I almost have a complete pentagram in it. It's very weird. It boils. It really does. Like, with me, the only other sign that I've dated and it lasts long was my technically my first longest relationship, which was a Scorpio. So, but the funny thing is, though, I've learned that when it comes to like dating, because like if you look, if I were to actually reveal my 2 other main out of the 3 signs, I don't fit an Aries to be my leading sign, but my moon and descending sign, I do. So it's really, really cool. Was your birth chart full of conflicts? LOL. Like as if you were waging war in your mind. Yeah, that was. Now I did find out something that I've got to look into, because if Southern Mama on TikTok, I hope I said that right. She does the weekly astrology reports, and she started doing this to try to kind of ease the tension on everything. She started doing these great people throughout history, and the first one was Gandhi. Um, Gandhi has what is known as, I think it's called the Triangle of God. And basically, if you have that in your chart at specific places, it basically means that you're going to be a person of greatness, as in you're going to radically change the world. And obviously, Gandhi did radically change the world. My husband is a Scorpio. LOL. But with relationships, the funny thing is there's two advices that I for one, it's the first advice that landed me here, which is I had someone tell me, they're like, when you come to a point in your life where you have two life decisions, go with the one that scares you the most. And the reason that is because there's a reason it's scaring you. But if you stay with the one that doesn't scare you, you're staying with comfort. You have to step out of that. So that was me. I mean, I talked to somebody online for roughly 2 years, off and on, video chatting, like texting every day. And then I randomly just decided it out of nowhere that, hey, I'm packing up my entire life and moving to Florida without telling anybody. And here I am almost 10 years later. Technically it's like 7. Yeah, that's like 7. My moon is Scorpio and I'm a Leo and my sister is a Virgo. Oh, my cute church telling me about psychic and spiritual, yet I don't feel so psychic at all. See, that's the problem with that word psychic. We need to come up with better wording because these words have been used all over the place. Because, like, I don't consider myself a psychic, but I've met other people that, like, no, you are a psychic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just... Because, like a medium. I see spirits. I've talked to spirits. Can I channel them? I've never actually tried. But I have claircognizance. I know things. I have a couple other weird things. Like last night I had this thing and it's like the clair of touching. It was the weirdest. I was watching a fucking video and I think it was of a horse because I watched this veterinarian show on, she's from Alaska. But I watched it on Disney Plus and she touched a horse. I think it was a horse. And I don't know if I was very high, but like I could physically feel what it felt like in my hand as she touched it in the video. And I'm like, I don't like this gift. My husband just kind of moved in with me. LOL. Never went home. 11 years now. Oh, that is awesome. Step into those energies. But everybody is sensitive. Everybody on this gods, goddesses, spirits, green earth is sensitive. We all have the ability to access it. The problem is, it's not really a problem, but a lot of people, it's the way that we were taught in school. As you get older, as you like step up those steps, going up in each grade, most teachers, depending on the teacher obviously, and most adults, they always tell us, grow up, stop, get your head out of the clouds. And what that does is imagination and the childness, the child innocentness, I said that weird, that is key to magic. Because with that, when you were a kid, like it's endless. Like the possibilities are endless. Like to anybody who's been to the ocean, did anybody else have that moment where you're like standing there and it's the first time you saw how big the world was? And or you thought that like the world just stopped and it was just a giant waterfall? That's what magic is. It's the belief in the ability or the belief that anything is possible and then taking that into your own hands and creating that physical change. Just not sure how to access it. I feel like the dead energy at night where you don't feel alone and it's so scary. Have some imagination as like a tea bag without hot water. Yeah, because you don't know if it's your energy that is harmful or to you is nice. With me, I look at all energy as they can be both. Fire can give us heat. It can cook our food. But if we're not careful, it can also burn down the world around us. It's all about balance. Everything we do in life has to be about balance. Alcohol, if you drink, and you know you have ancestral trauma, as in you have that ancestral curse, as there are a lot of heavy drinkers in your family. It's up to you to be able to balance that out, to make sure that you are still in control versus it being in control. With magic, magic's the same way. Everybody has a light side and everybody has a dark side and everything in between. But when it comes to like energy in itself, I felt like that the first time at Disney at 24. Yes, I hardly drink. I did make an announcement earlier last year when we got sick that like I was going to quit drinking. I lost that balance. I'm not an alcoholic though. I have about about a bottle of wine every other night. And it's not expensive wine, by the way. Hello. I mean, it's Dollar General wine. Um, but and that also depends on if I have my edibles. If I have my edibles, then I stick to that because that works 10 times better. But see, that's something that I've only seen 2 people talk about on TikTok, which is there are practices that actually. How do I go about into this? There we go. I have to say this in a very, very educational way because if people take, they're going to construe it in multiple ways. A lot magical practitioners throughout history have used certain things to either make them go high or low, if you understand what I'm saying. Obviously, though, be fucking safe with it. I cannot express that enough, but be safe with it. My husband is sensitive to being and has alcoholics in his family, so we just stay away mostly. So no wine for my spirits, lol. I understand. And no, I completely understand that. Fully 100%. I know multiple people that won't drink, and I respect them. I respect the hell out of them. And that's perfectly okay too. A lot of people online, they emphasize like spirits have to have alcohol. No, they do not. My spirits, especially my ancestors, over a beer or over a cup of tea or coffee, they'll choose the coffee or tea. Especially with the creamer. I have to show y'all something I'm obsessed with currently right now. When I tell you this is liquid childhood, this is liquid childhood for me. Straight up. Smells like it. It tastes like it too, but I don't add sweetener to my coffee. I just add this. And there's a reason I brought that up. So, we were at the grocery store, and normally when we go to the grocery store, we're only there to buy like meats because the one that we go to, they have like pick 5 for 25. But we've gotten to the point where we try to get creamer. And I was like, I've got to get my grandmother something to go on the altar. Like, I know she's craving it, but I was like, I don't understand what. Yes, that was oatmeal pie. Oatmeal pie coffee creamer. And I'm walking by and they didn't have the creamer that we normally get. And my brain instantly locked on there. And all I did in my head, I saw my grandmother eating an oatmeal pie because she used to love them. And then my partner also likes it. So that's one way that when we say our ancestors talk to us, that's what we mean. Like you'll be in the grocery store or in a store or anywhere, and then all of a sudden you'll think of one of your ancestors, and they're like, you know what? They might like that. I also don't drink coffee much. I hope they like Diet Pepsi, lol. Did you know you can actually use soda in your practice? I recently just learned this in our Discord, but in Appalachian folk magic, they've actually used Coke in their practice. Coca-Cola in their practice. I did not know that. But yes, I've given my ancestors coffee, crackers, tea. Obviously, I have a jar of water on there. I've given them a bowl of soup before. All different types of things I've given them. Oatmeal pies are definitely like my family thing for me, and my son loves them, lol. I heard Hades like grape soda. Oh. I don't actually work with Hades that much. I've never worked with Hades. But same with the with the oatmeal pies. Me and my partner love them. And I was also medicated when I first opened it and I smelled it. And literally, I had so many great childhood memories that kind of rushed to me of like me being at school and then me getting one and just being just happy as hell just to have it. So I was like, yep, that's definitely gonna stay. What are some? I'm trying to think of some of the weirder things that I've given my ancestors as like offerings. How would you go about making an altar for an ancestor if you don't know them? Okay, so this is actually perfect, and thank you so much for asking me that. So, for one, I would start out by just announcing verbally to the place of saying, hi, introduce who you are, and be like, this is your spot. So this table right here, yes, exactly, anything can be left as an offering, but I was like, this space is going to be reserved for you. And then this is kind of where you come in as what you like. So see, I'm one of the practitioners that believe some of the things that we're drawn to in this life possibly could be a past life. So try to do the same thing of what your family, and even if you don't know your family, I'm talking about the family now, anything that you like. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Because see, we have to realize that even though we've never met some of our ancestors, we share the one, or we share two things, DNA, right? So with that, and recently, I think it was in 2010 when the Assassin's Creed movie came out, um, scientists also actually shortly after that released an article that is true, that memories and stuff like that can actually be passed down through the gene line. And they used this and found this out with the Holocaust survivors. They did these questionnaires and stuff like that, and they through that, they processed the raw data and figured out that it can be passed down. So then you'll ask yourself, what are aspects or what are things that you like? Whether that's music, whether that's books, TV shows, pictures, art, food, places like the places you want to go to travel. And through the process of this, once you make contact with them, you may very well find out that those aspects of you also share with an ancestor. So that's one of the reasons I'm like, anybody can work with their ancestor if they want to. By adoption, I have a question, my friend. I'm a big fan of Shadow Hunter, and I really love the runes, etc. And I want to have some on my body. Go for it. I would say go for it. I've met plenty of people, and I would love to get the main one that they use tattooed on me. I make Indian food for dinner and will offer it to my ancestors and deities. Oh, I love that. I just planned ACFCD. It was so fun. I know my great-grandmother was a 9th degree Freemason. Oh, and I bought a Freemason symbol on altar for him. That could definitely work. I also have my mother's father was a fully processed Mason, which is so weird, and that makes more sense that I'm into witchcraft now. But yeah, anything like that can be used. Somebody said to me that I can't not use that in my practice because those runes came from a show and they don't have real power in them. And I'm like, excuse me, what? That person doesn't know what they're talking about, as in, how do we think this symbol or this symbol has power? At one point in time, they were just symbols, and then people started wearing them and putting faith in them. Now, I actually did recently see something about this that I've never heard of, and it does make sense to me, which is these right here. Also, I gotta catch up on these. I know little things, healing herbs and farming protections. My grandpa was a Freemason, but not related by DNA. Oh, cool. But with these right here, the original purpose of this is supposed to basically to suck up all of that negative energy, that all the evil eyes that's thrown at you, and eventually it will shatter and or break, right? What happens if you get that tattooed on you? Now, the person I saw this video, they're like, if you get it tattooed on you, if the symbol's working like it is, it's just absorbing all of that negative energy, but where's it going to go? So I thought that was cool, because as soon as I heard that, I was like, well, couldn't you make it to where it, like, I don't know. Random weird question. But no, I've used spells before off of Charmed. Now, with me saying that, obviously, I did not think that, like, if I do one of the glamour spells, it's just going to magically disappear. Some of the things that we see in TVs and movies, you can use in real life, just as long as you know that you're not going to get that reaction out of it as in it was in the movies. For an example, The Craft. Both the original Craft, and then Craft Legacies had a had a high priestess on set at almost all times. So when I tell you that the magic involved in that was real, in a sense, it was. In the original Craft, when they're on the beach and they're about to invoke Menel. Also, interesting fact, and I also think it's a weird personal Mandela effect with me. The god that was used in practical magic is a real god. Menel is a real god. And I found it once in one book, and now I've not been able to find it again. But in that specific scene, where you see the waves washing up on the rock circle. That was real. Kind of like, why do people tattoo dream catchers on themselves? Exactly. But that was actually real. They had a lot of weird shit because that beach in California, I think it was in California, it had been practiced, it had been used by witches for years and years and years. I want to get Peacock and Little Wings of Hermes and her. Oh, I love that. I have this tattoo, which is an anchor, and then it has just keep swimming, and then right down here I have a heart with headphones on it and music, because music is life to me. But when they were doing that, they asked the practitioner, they're like, do we like just fake this, or like can we really? And she's like, well, I mean, I don't see why not, just go ahead and really do it. And they had a shit ton of weird things happen on that specific scene and that set, with half the scene being washed away. There was lighting issues, multiple other things. And like the chant, what is it? Oh, fuck. Now is the time, this is the hour, ours is the magic, ours is the power. Now is the time, this is the hour. And then the earth, air, fire, and water. I used to chant those when I first started finding my way through witchcraft. Those chants, primarily the two chants at the very beginning and the other one that they use, I use them because to me they're power chants. Now is the time, this is the hour, ours is the magic, ours is the power. That is a straight up power chant to get you in that mind state and in that focus. And here recently, I had someone say that, like, you know, which is, I love, I think you're still in here, and if you are, you don't have to out yourself, but I love the fact that you said this to me, because it was so true, which is, you know, I kind of need to take a breather and kind of rediscover the original reason that I found witchcraft, and I was sparked by witchcraft. And I was like, well, fuck, how am I going to do that? I'm going to watch the Craft movies. Because the Craft movie, yes, I know it's 100% it was a movie and like everything like that, but it inspired me as in holy shit. Like Nancy was my, like, I loved her. I think it was Nancy. Nancy was the crazy one. Yeah. Well, not the crazy one, but she went crazy with power. I related to her very, very much when I first started practicing. So like to see that movie and it'd be like, well, fuck it, if she can do that, then I can do it. Obviously, I did not kill my stepfather. That is my fave movie. That is so cute. Your tattoo. Oh, thank you. Yep. She is a witch. She is a real witch, and she also sells sigils on her Instagram. By the way, they're not cheap. I checked. They are not cheap, but I guarantee you they're probably worth it. And I don't know if everybody that's watching this has seen Legacies Part 2, or the Craft Legacies movie, because there's a huge ending to that nobody really saw coming. There's a lot of issues that I have with that movie, but I've also talked to the writer and director of that movie on Instagram. And there may be a second one, depending on how the first one went, which I haven't really checked it. Yes, I have. I've not read all of the books. The books confuse the fuck out of me because in the books there's like 17 members versus in the TV show where there were like only, I think, 5 or 6. Loved that so much. I loved that. What other one was there? Secret Circles, The Covenant. If you have not seen The Covenant, you need to go check that movie out, because that was my LGBT moment of me realizing that holy shit. They should have also came out with a part 2 to that, 100%. But a lot of things in TV, it also, I wish the Secret Circles or even Netflix, Netflix or the CW would pick up the Secret Circles, because the only reason that show got canceled was because of the Facebook group, 1,000 Moms. They canceled it because it was displaying witchcraft in an intriguing, alluring way. And I'm like, but we also have the Vampire Diaries. So like, a lot of magic stuff. But I love games with magic. Ooh, like what do we make such big differences for? I don't understand that either. And I like some games. I don't like gaming that much because I'm the type of person that once I start a game, like, I'm not going to stop until I finish it. Um, my partner's more of a gamer than I am. Um, I want to see it so badly because Colin Parker, my sexy. But yeah, getting inspiration from things like that, there's no problem with that because everybody does it during Halloween. I mean, come on. We basically, like, everybody, we know the movies to watch. And it's because it gets us excited about it. And for the people that have been doing this for a while, if we're on social media, a lot of us are starting to get kind of not like a physical burnout, but we're starting to get burned out on the topic. Netflix picked it up like Lucifer. I wish they would, but like, I don't know if they really will because it's been so long, so they would have to redo the entire thing. Same, it's bad. We fight over the games in the house. Oh, oh, that is awesome. Butters, do not tear down the house. And a lot of us are starting to get burned out because it went from the only time we see things about witchcraft if we're like studying or in a Facebook group to now we're being bombarded by it. So I do encourage you, and see, I can say that here on YouTube. On TikTok, I would not be able to say it, but I do encourage you to like check out from TikTok. Now, even though I've said that, I still obviously go on there and I'll scroll and I'll save videos to like pre-planned videos. But, and I've randomly been posting, but I haven't been hyper focusing on it. And again, it was brought to my, like, somebody told me, here recently, when I need a message to get across for me because Spirit knows how I am, it will not come from my tarot deck or oracle cards. It'll wind up coming from somebody's mouth that's very close to me. They'll wind up saying it to me. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina had me wanting to try out the familiar spell, lol. There's actually a few familiar spells that you can do. Most of them are kind of like meditative, and they're more on the actual familiar aspect versus like how I am with Bubbers, my house cat. He's totally my familiar. Most cats that I've had have also been my familiars. And what I categorize as a familiar is somebody that is they're extremely close to you. They can basically, it's like you can read each other's minds. They're drawn to your magic. Anytime if I'm in there on the bed and I pull out my cards, my cat's right there at them. Mostly sitting on it. Love you too, by the way, I think. Oh, sweet. Sorry, my partner messaged me. Like, some of it's cute, but it's not my thing for a whole house. I like some aesthetics. The only reason that I don't show a lot of the things that I have is, well, I live in a fucking trailer from like the 80s, so there are a lot of things that need to be fixed up, and I get kind of conscious with that. And then with the whole mice thing, update on that though, I did find out how they were getting on top of my altar, and I removed that. So hopefully I'll be able to actually reset up my altar. And here in the next month, I'm going to be working in a room to where I can actually dedicate it to, and I've been saying this for the past 2 years, for the thing. Aesthetic honestly annoys the hell out of me, but at the same time, I also understand how, to some people, aesthetics can be, because it puts that person in the mood. The problem is, with that aesthetic, that's the issue that we're having, that I have online, is because, yeah, you can have all these witchy looking shit, but if your knowledge doesn't match with what you have, then you're not a witch. I'm sorry, that's how it is. Almost 5 years, I helped birth him as mine. Oh, same, and we have an old house, and sometimes depression house happens. Yes, exactly, and that's just kind of ours. Like, primarily, we've got to fix the floors, but that takes lumber. So there are a lot of areas that, like, I'm used to it, but I know how people online can be. So I have to figure out a way that I can set up a place, because I feel so bad because the giveaways that I've done, and then the other boxes and shipments that I've got, I haven't been able to display some of these things because of the issues that I'm going through. But I'm slowly tweaking and working them out. But aesthetics can help, just don't lose the aspect of it. And the number one thing that I also just had to tell myself was I kept looking at people that started around the same time on the app, not witchcraft, started around the same time, and they're up here and I'm still like kind of down here. And I learned, I had to remind myself that I cannot compare myself to somebody else's growth. I cannot compare myself or my craft to somebody else's craft because they're going to be different. I mean, the only way that I could figure out if your magic is all the same is if you are a family that literally has just grown together and taught each other. Other than that, we're so individually unique. When I open the door to my craft room, it's so magical. My house is witchy, and we can never go back into the broom closet. LOL. I'm the same way. There's no way I can, like, if you were to walk up on, like, at one point in time, my main altar was the kitchen table, and let's just say there were a couple of people that walked up on this porch and were freaked out just by how it looked. And then normally I'm always burning either an incense. Personally, my partner loves, and before I say this, I will show it. This right here, culinary sage powdered. Honestly, I like this shit better than the whole stuff. It burns way easier, but he loves it when he walks in the house from coming home from work, and it's the first thing he smells. He's like, I just know it's a good day for you if you're burning sage. And I'm like, you know, some witches would look at that and be like, wait, what? But it's true. Like, my good mood is me burning sage because when I worked at the herbal store, and this is also a witchy no-no, okay? I'm calling myself out on this. When I worked at the witchy store that I did, I bought a sage bundle. This is way before the internet is what it is now. So I had no idea that that was a no-no. But I did not burn it, actually. I went home and I steeped it in vodka. And it spilt. So I had an entire room that smelled like nothing but fresh sage, and I'm obsessed with it. I was a little scared, but I just blurted it out to my husband. I was like, who's doing? He guessed. He's getting used to it, but I still make fun, and my mom don't give me shit. That is awesome. Same. I burn sage all the time. I do. I love it. And I know a lot of people, that's their go-to cleansing thing. But I believe that herbs, due to the fact that they have multiple different meanings and correspondences, I believe that you can pick what the intention of you doing it is. So, like, if I'm actually cleansing or if I'm trying to clear out the area, I won't just use sage. I use multiple other herbs, but as I'm combining those and grinding them in the mortal and pedestal, I will state that. I'm like, look, you know, I'm working with you. You are to cleanse and clean this house, the air in this house. Um, and then that's how, because I've had people and they're like, well, wait, if you work with your ancestors and you burn sage, aren't you pushing them out of the house? And I'm like, no, because that's not how my magic works. And that's what I'm encouraging more people to do because that's how I was taught. And one of the best examples of this is National Geographic's, you can find it on here. It was either part of the Taboo series that they had, or it was just a Halloween thing. They went to the UK and different parts of the UK to, you know, actually ask witches. And there's one who, I think it's the Rose of the Blackthorn. Or is it the Red Rose of the Blackthorn? But there's a scene in there where she has this giant wall of herbs in these like old school jars. And as she's pulling each one, she's actually saying and talking to it and grinding it up. And that scene has never left my head. And that's how I was taught, which is you were supposed to talk to your herbs. You're supposed to, just like with crystals, you have to assign them a task. I haven't used a bundle yet. Usually my frankincense, dragon's blood, and myrrh. I do have something to say. Let me finish these things. I'm also scared of burning down my house. LOL. I've always been drawn to sandalwood and rosemary or blue sage. Love sandalwood. I actually have to get some. I've not had fucking incense with sandalwood in so long. With the dragon's blood, I also love myrrh and frankincense. With the dragon's blood, though, especially if you live here in America and or Canada, be careful with burning dragon's blood outside and or even in your house. I don't know the techniques behind this, But dragon's blood is very, very harsh to native spirits. So you could actually possibly round them up. And if you are going to do something about this, and no, I've checked into this. Cannot believe we're at a point right now where we have to do this. Sweetgrass. Any herb that is sweet, also, rabbit tobacco. Or is it duck tobacco? No, it's duck tobacco. No, it is rabbit tobacco. Rabbit tobacco, which grows here in the United States. Once you dry that out and burn it, it has a very, very almost sweet, like vanilla aroma. You're going to want things like that if burning dragon's blood. If you actually, okay, if like you actually believe that, like, because obviously there are native spirits everywhere. They were all over the place. But I don't believe that that means that they're fully interactive with us, if that makes any sense. But I always take that into account. That's why I always say when I move to a property for the very first time, when I get time to, that the first day, I will walk out into the land and actually put my hands into the land and introduce myself fully, like what I am, what I do, basically making sure that they know that, like, I'm not radically going to change things. I'm not here to, like, push you off or disturb you or anything like that. I added rub sage to my rice when cooking, as my husband calls it, my witchy rice. Oh, I love that, and same, I do too. I add it to everything that I possibly can. I'm trying to think of the conversation me and my partner had last night, because he was like, I'm not going to actually say the actual situation that we were talking about, but he's like, I think it's because you have too much protection. And I'm like, again, ouch, way to call me out. What do you mean? And he's like, well, with all the things you have around the house, like, I think it's because you're very well protected. And I was like, there's always a bad thing. There's always a double side to that. Too much protection can be a bad thing. Like, I had someone on TikTok, they tried to send me a package. For 2 months, tried to send me a package. We double checked. We had everything correct. But every single time it would come back and basically they would say that they couldn't find it or it was a return to sender. So that's what I mean by too much protection can be a bad thing. I was told to give cats sweetgrass to eat instead of letting them eat grass outside. Ooh, I haven't heard that. I may try that. Catnip also always works. Prosperity magic and love magic. Catnip, which we may be... Catnip may be getting scarce very soon. Due to what country manufactures it. Primarily manufactures it. And then also, herbal-wise, look into the herbs around your property or plants around your property, mostly weeds, because there are probably over 100 species of sage, and from my understanding, they all carry the same properties. Open the door for the particle. But I mean, I've walked outside and I've like literally just grabbed stuff off the ground, ground it together, and I would burn it outside for the ancestors or for the land spirits. And that's also what we mean by there are so many people that hyperfixate on all of these herbs, but they're not seeing everything that nature is providing them at their house. Like, I have sweet, oh my god, the name is in the tip of my tongue. The, prickly pears, there we go. I have prickly pear cactuses all over my property. I've still never been able to actually get the fruit, but I use the, hello! Yes, and pizza is a, technically, yes, pizza is a, prosperity spell. But, I use the tiny little sticker things for protection. If you have sand squirrels, the little tiny little things that poke the shit out of your feet in the summertime, start collecting those. They can be used in baneful and protection magic. There's a ton of wild bush sage. Yes, I love that. Confederate roses. They can also be used in your practice. Although I don't think you would say Confederate roses, but that's what they're known as. Or wild roses. Like I was told before, I read it in a book that. Okay, so when it comes to, here's the other thing we're going to talk about. Mundane before magical. What do we mean by that? So, when it comes to certain things that happen in your magical practice, you have to ask yourself, before you automatically say, oh my god, it's a sign, can it be recreated? Can you try to recreate what just happened? If you can, then that's the mundane aspect. Was it a manufacturing in the candle making? Was it a manufacturing in whatever you're using? Versus, there's no way that you can repeat that. Like, I have a video that I haven't reposted. The other night, I'm a little upset. I had a thorny bush I got rid of because it was dangerous, and now I'm a witch. LOL. But I work with candles. That is primarily the major thing that I do. So I know how my candles are. Now, with that being said, I do buy them. I've still not gotten to the point where I'm making my own. But normally, though, I know how they're going to work. So I lit one of the main candles that's on my altar. And because the New Year's candle has still not burned down, believe it or not. So, like, now it's just, obviously, I do burn it on the new moon and full moon. But also, I've been burning them and the community candles that I've done. Once I get a filling, so it could be at any point in time of the day that I'll light them. And the other day when I lit it, I have no idea what the fuck was going on with it in a good way, but holy shit was it pumping up some power because if you've seen any of my nighttime videos on TikTok, you'll know the lighting is weird in the my bedroom where my altar's at. And I lit this bitch and it illuminated my entire altar. And the AC was on, which meant it was supposed to be blowing like all over the place. It wasn't. It was kind of just sitting there. So I did cut the AC off, and because my partner's like, maybe it's just the air blowing it to making it look brighter. So I cut the AC off. Nope. It still was bright as fuck, and I was like, I have never... Oh, sorry, Bubbers. I know, I got stuff all over where you lay. But I've never seen something like that before. So in my practice, that was basically, there was a huge amount of energy that was shooting out of that. And I've gotten multiple updates, a lot actually. And I love that. At any point in time, if I've ever done spell work for you and or if you're a part of anything with the community, do updates. Do you work with the archangels? I have not. I've worked with Michael, or is it Raphael? I've worked with one of them once, but other than that, no, I don't really. But yeah, with the mundane before magical, you have to ask yourself, like, I had a, actually, I can show y'all this. Last myself, my cat literally just ran over here to pump the iPad screen. Oh, so this right here, and this will be revealed of what this actually was later on this month. And it did work, but, with this one candle, right, look at the inside. The reason that stuff is there is because when it got to about right there, it would not burn. It put itself out multiple times. Do you channel spirits as a service? No, just because I've never actually tried to fully channel a spirit. Maybe in the future that may be a thing, but as of right now, no. But around that area, it would not light. It was almost like it was making too much wax and it wasn't getting oxygen. And I know some witches are going to see this and they're going to be like, no. So I literally had to pour some out just to get it to finish burning. But at first, I was like, all right, it's a manufacturing error, right? And then I had this thought, and I'm like, wait. I've used these candles a lot. I've never really had the biggest problem I've had with these is the wax not always straight. So, like, once it gets halfway down, it starts burning too close to the glass. But other than that, never had a problem with these. So I messaged the person that I was doing it for. And I was like, hi, hey, hello. Do you possibly think somebody may have, thrown something your way? Yeah. that was technically their confirmation that something had, or someone had, and then I confirmed it. So what did I do? I went and got some oil, dipped it on there, did some other little things to it, and it started burning. And as you can tell, it fully finished burning out completely. And see, that's also what we mean by if you've ever heard me say, like, we know, like, witches with energy and stuff like that, that's the reason we say mundane before magical, because not everything is mundane before magical. That's the reason it's complex, because if I were to message that person and ask that, and they were like, well, no, not at all, then I would have been like, all right, it's mundane. But it was the fact that I had the thought, and they had the thought, and then after I added the oil that I added to it, which was an uncrossing and road opener oil, it worked. So now, with that being said, does that mean I completely removed the working that were on this individual? No. What that means is, for one, the people that did it did not think that anybody was going to pick it up, and or did not see me coming. But later on, I will be doing more work for this person. Originally, I was just like, I'm doing this on the house. And then they're like, no, this is an exchange of energy. So, yeah. But once that's going to be done, they're supposed to be making a video on it and kind of, telling people, hey, he does magic. So, yeah, that was really cool, though. Because I had never once thought, oh, yeah, this is the problem. But that is the reason. Oh, no, you're good. You're good. But that is the reason that we say that, like, there's more to magic than soaking it with candles or soaking a candle with oil and burning it. Speaking of that, I have something to say. And if you are an Etsy store shop owner, which I don't think y'all are, I don't think anybody that's watching this is affected by this. And if you are, please do not be offended. If you are going to sell a candle that has a shit ton of herbs in it, that has like 1.5 ounces of oil in it, and then has a shit ton of crystals on it, please just advertise it as an aesthetic, like, non-burning candle. I've seen on Etsy and people reviewing them where people have put selenite in candles. Selenite is flammable. That bitch will burst up in flames, okay? So, we know what happens with selenite, sapphire, whatever you want to call it, with the tiny little, how it, like, fractures, and if you were to digest that, you're going to have tiny little, like, yeah. What do you think that's going to do if it's on fire? Like, I understand having, like, some of the candles that I've gotten, they've had a couple of crystals on it, the tinier ones. That's completely okay. But say this is say this is an actual candle of wax. If this entire candle is completely caked in herbs, you need to tell them a way to burn it outside in a metal or safe place bowl. Like, I understand with aesthetics, but again, with candle science, everything that you add to it, whether it is a scent, whether it is a magical oil, magical herb, or even color, will affect how that candle burns. Now, what do you think is going to happen if you have like 20 different herbs, 6 different crystals, and God knows what else in that candle? Because a person who doesn't know, a novice witch, a beginner witch, who gets that candle and tries to do a spell, and the candle itself goes horribly fucking wrong, it may prevent that person from ever going back to magic again. There was another video that I saw recently that was actually sent to me. And the message in the video wasn't clear. And the way they went about the video, it was more terrifying or more fear than it was to get the actual point that they were trying to say across. Now, what do I mean in this and why is it important? Some of the videos, especially with TikTok, because that's where most people go to learn about witchcraft nowadays, if they don't know any better, if they're literally just starting with this, and they see a video stating that all of this is closed, all of this is closed, all of this is closed, they're going to be like, well, fuck, what do I do now? I've had people message me, friends and mutuals of people messaging them. One in particular, one incident, they messaged this person to get a reading because they needed to know what path to choose. And obviously, just like everybody's just like I would have asked, okay, well, because normally if somebody comes to me for a reading, I ask what you're trying to find out, depending on the reading you're going to get. Because I'm not going to charge you for a full reading, which is 6 questions, if like a 10 card pool can answer that. I'm not going to do that. So the person was talking to the customer and they're like, so I want to know which I can choose in witchcraft. And they're like, okay, well, what do you mean? And they're like, well, there's only 2. I'm sorry, what? And they're like, no, what do you mean? And they go, well, everything else is closed, so there's only pagan and Wicca left. And I'm like, no. But that's what I mean. If you make a video trying to scare the shit out of somebody, it may not just scare them, it may scare so many other people from even joining in the craft. I need to do my training after I do my dinner for friends. It's 7:30. Oh, okay, cool. Also ask if they're refusing. Yes! Oh my god, yes. Thank you for saying that. Holy shit, yes. Okay, so like, I want to re-ask. You take a moral stance before casting a lust spell for someone. How do you decide if you should or should not for hire? Let me get back to that one in a second. Okay, so this is something that really does need to be talked about. For one, yes, ask them, are you reusing glass? Why is this important? Every type of glass that you have out there has a specific shattering/burn point. What do I mean by this? I mean, if it goes past that degree, it will literally shatter on top of everything else that you stuck in that candle. So you're basically creating a bomb of some sorts. Yes, the tea light, the like little teacup candles, they're really, really cute. But a lot of them are not burn safe. And if the glass is not tempered, it will shatter and or explode. With that being said, if you add a shit ton of oil that is flammable to a candle, do not use water. If your candle gets it's out of control, dear God, do not use water. Use flour or a fire extinguisher. It needs to be suffocated. Don't use flour on that. I actually have to look that up. I don't know what to use besides a fire extinguisher to safely put out a candle. Because water would just make it go everywhere. My cousin's friend reuses cups to make candles that they are cute, but I'm scared for anyone who uses them. My mom had glass ashtray that shattered after 15 years and a cig not out all the way. Exactly. I'm so thankful for your comments. Aw. Maybe baking soda. Salt, definitely. Salt would do it. Sand would do it too. There we go. So sand, salt, possibly baking soda, and a fire extinguisher. Don't use flour because the way that wax will probably form to that, you're just going to create more to burn. And I saw another video, and then I'm going to get back to that one question. I saw another video of, and I'm not hating on this person, but again, mundane before magical. They were doing a cord cutting, and they did it outside on a concrete flooring, right? Actually, yes, kitty litter would be really, really good, actually. Oh, I love this conversation. But they did it outside, and this is back when it was still cold, right? So halfway done, as the candles are already exploding, and one had already burnt down, and it was just burning directly on top of the plate. All of a sudden, the plate shatters directly down the middle. And she's like, look at the power. And I'm like, somebody did not go to school. No, you had a cold glass, or you had a hot glass plate on cold concrete with the wind blowing. What happens when you heat glass up and then there's a slight temperature change? It breaks, basically. Yes, thank you. I didn't think about the cat litter. I never thought about the cat litter either, actually. But yeah, it's a really good thing. So, all right, us witches. We need to start having cat litter by our altars. That was so weird. Keep sand on your altar and a metal bowl or old pot. Sniff it out and prevent debris flying everywhere. Yes, exactly that. Now I also do like the whole tin foils. I'm not, the whole, like, tinfoil things that you can get from, like, Dollar General, the, like, baking things. Those are really great for candle magic. My husband didn't put the microwave on a timer. 10 minutes later, we needed a new plate. Oh. Okay, so where did that conversation go? Okay, so let me re-ask. You take moral sense before casting a lust spell for someone. How do you decide if you should or should not do it for hire? Okay, so for one, it depends on what type of lust spell. It depends on if the other person has consent and or knows about it. And then at the end of the day, I will also sit down and I will commune with my spirits. And I'll have a conversation with them. And depending on how that goes, I will either do it or I won't do it. I've done spells that I've not advertised and or talk about that I had never thought I'd do in 1,000 years. But the time and the situation called for it, so I did it. But yeah, it just depends on like as much detailing. And the reason that was due to one client. Because I had a client way early in the beginning of this, and they were basically very confusing triangle love life thing where like they had a boyfriend, but their boyfriend had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend was into magic, and it's that whole story about how like the ex or the other woman put a spell on my man, so now he just wants her. And I was like, all right, fuck it, let's do this shit. So I put her in a jar, did the spell, did the other spell for her, and we both messaged each other because weird shit started happening here. Primarily my partner. My partner is extremely sensitive to baneful workings. He feels it intensively. Primarily it makes him, either gives him a headache or just makes him uncomfortable. Um, and I had messaged her and I was like, look, I've done all these things and I've even did readings for her. And I was like, look, this is not going to play out the way you want this to play out. And that last one that I did, I was like, look, I'm sorry. If you want a refund, I totally will. But, I was basically messaging her to tell her that I'm about to open this jar and just release it. And she actually messaged me at the exact same time and said the exact same thing. She's like, I want nothing to do with this. Come to find out, she was not actually with the man. She was the other woman that was trying to get the man. So yeah, that happened. And obviously I did a complete redo, and I know a lot of people, and there are certain spells I do not believe you can redo. The reason that is it's like in the craft. It makes perfect sense. Once you release a floodgate, there's no just sucking it back in. You've got to let that energy flow. But if you are the creator of said spell, there are certain things that you can do to kind of slowly break it down to where even if it does fully go through, it's not going to get the full impact. I hope that answered your question, though. I love the conversations. My altar is about my cat litter box. LOL. But yeah, it's just asking things like that, like a mundane way. Like for an example, if this bell above me, can I get it down? Yes, I can. Okay. Ah! There we go. Oh my god, stop being caught on everything. This is the bell. And no, this is not a dream catcher. This is just something that I put together using, believe it or not, that right there is actually leftover from a weed eater. And this is just random fabric and then a little quartz, and it's got gold wire wrapped around it. Pendulum I got the other day, but this right here, it hangs up here. And there have been moments where I've heard it ring. And the first thing I look for is my cat. If my cat's asleep, then I know it wasn't him. It was probably, there are multiple sayings with if you hear barrels ring. But if he's awake and he's in here 9 times out of 10, he banged it to either A, let me know some major spirit is here, or B, he did it to annoy the fuck out of me and tell me that he wants to be fed. But those are things that you have to think of. Like if you randomly hear chimes, but you have a porch full of wind chimes, unless there's absolutely no wind, now that's different though if you were to ask something from like an ancestor or from a deity and then the wind pick up and it blows, that would be a sign. Yes. It's even with like paranormal stuff. If you move into a new house, what we mean by you need to go over all the mundane things. Do you have mice? Is there a raccoon in the attic? Is it just heating and plumbing? Those things like that will help somebody figure out if it's an actual spirit or if it's just mundane things that go around. Like there's some weird shit that happens here. When you cut the AC off, because we have like a big window unit that is heating and cold, at nighttime, when you cut that bitch off, you would think it would get really, really quiet, right? No. You start hearing conversations. And at first, I'm like, wait, the AC unit should be causing that, because AC units, depending on type you have, they cause white noise. White noise, you can hear conversations with. That's how white noise affects the brain. But it happens when you cut it off. And me and my partner have been like sitting in the living room or on our beds, and like we can fully hear, it sounds like two people are talking to each other in a very low tone. And then it's like we move and it's like they were interrupted. I've opened one of the bedrooms back there, and you know that feeling of like, say you're at work and you accidentally bust into the office with the district manager and the manager of your store having a very important conversation that you're not supposed to hear, that feeling that you feel. Yeah, I felt that. So I was like, I slowly backed away. Oh, I gotta show you. I gotta show you. Look who it is. And I cannot zoom. Oh, there we go. Look. Yeah, that's the second time they've been there. And here comes the other flock. See? And the other flock's right over there. I love that so much. I've not been left any gifts yet. But yeah, it's things like that you have to ask yourself, you know. But there are a lot of things. I've heard if you hear bells chime or bells ring, a phase nearby and or a spirit is present. With feathers, that's a hot topic right now on TikTok. With feathers, I've always heard that when you are walking, if you find a feather, it means that basically there is a message for you and or there is still part of that journey to go. I collect feathers. I use them in my practice. With that being said, do I always know what type of feather I have? No, but I have a shit ton of feathers that I do use in my practice. Now, you're probably asking, well, what can you use feathers for? They're really, really good for sending messages. Whether that's a, like, fuck off, leave me alone message, or hey, I love you, I miss you, call me, text me message, or just to send people dreams, that's how you can do it, using feathers. Now, what I'm about to say, some people and some witches are like, no, it's from, no, fuck that. If you get a chance, and or if you are an artsy person, the next time you go to an art store, Dollar General, Walmart, arts and craft store, grab some of the colored feathers, because normally it's the same type of bird as, and it's just synthetically dyed. You can use those in your practice a lot. There are so many things that we don't like take into account that we can use. Everybody focuses on like shells, snail shells for like protection, right? What about dirt dobblers? The little dirt things, you can use that as protection. You can also use that in baneful working. You can use wasp nest for protection because it is the wasp home. You can also use it for baneful magic. Normally there's an opposite and equal. There's only one thing that I've found in metaphysically that it apparently cannot be used for negative shit, but I also don't know if it's an actual natural producing stone, which is blue obsidian. I was taught blue obsidian is one of the only crystals that cannot be used in baneful working in any way, shape, or form. I don't know why. I think it's the properties of it. There should be some spaghetti noodles down there for y'all, buddy. Yeah, I know you listening to me. And boom. Oh, this is so cool. Sorry, I'm being distracted about them. How about spider sack eggs? Yes, they can be used for protection. They can be used to kind of trip up people. Anything that you find out in nature that can be used for protection, as in the actual what the animal's actually doing to it, it can also be used for protection. Okay, so number one thing they liked the most was the bread that I laid out. That is really cool. River rocks, river water. Also with that, if you ever go to a river or a stream and you were trying to like throw something away, For one, make sure it's biodegradable. Make sure it's not going to cause like lead poisoning or anything like that. But if you are trying to bring something to you, you need to find a stream that flows towards you, or towards your property. If you need to get away with something or throw something away, banishing it out of your life, you need to do the opposite. You need to do a stream that is flowing away from you. I've looked into it and cannot get any answers that's even close to the same thing when researching the difference. There's really not. And I'm to that point with my practice where the things that are in books, they just don't really, except for doctoring the devil. Doctoring the devil, like anthill. I'd never thought about using anthill dirt. Actually, we're going to go over some of this really quick. All right. What are some crazy things that can be used for protection? Protection from conjuring and unnatural illness. Let's see. Ant eggs. Never thought in a million years to use ant eggs. My question above didn't show up. I was asking an embarrassing question. Oh, I'm sorry. If you don't want to ask it on here, you can totally message me and ask me that way. I don't think... Yeah, did it not show? No, okay. Yeah, no, I don't think it showed. Ant eggs, ant dirt, baby powder. I'd never thought about using baby powder in my practice before. Black beans, obviously. Black snake root and or black gamache. Okay, black cow milk. In other words, cow milk from a black cow. I think I asked this before, but do you do glamour magic? Yes, I do glamour art. I've never actually done glamour magic as a service. On your services, what's an uncrossing good for helping with, and the difference between it and a road opener? Okay. I actually recently tested to make sure I could answer this. Okay, so road openers are to remove obstacles. Now, what I mean by obstacles is I don't necessarily mean magical obstacles. I mean mundane obstacles. Any obstacles that haven't even played out yet that could prevent you from going the distance to where you need to go. That's what a road opener is. It kind of explodes though, so it's very powerful in like pushing all that away. It can also manipulate certain situations to where it comes out in your out favor. Now, an uncrossing, on the other hand, is where in Southern Conjure and Appalachian Folk Magic, some conjure doctors or root doctors will say laying roots. In other words, roots have been laid on you. So what an uncrossing does is basically like an unjinx or an unhexing. So it uncrosses everything that has been crossed and or laid on you. And normally, depending on the situation, I kind of combine the two. So I'll do an uncrossing and a road opening in the same ceremony. So you're getting both energies. So you're getting new ways of opening up, and then you're also clearing out some of that stagnant energy and or any energy or roots that have been thrown and or laid on you. And the situations, honestly, anything. I've done them for love, all aspects of life I've done them for. Career, business, all different things like that. Thank you so much. Of course, of course. I was told to be careful with protection and banishing stuff, that sometimes it attaches the stuff you were trying to keep away. Ooh. I mean, obviously, when it does come to banishing, always be careful, because it's kind of like, if I read that question right, it's kind of like the same thing of, say we're in a paranormal investigation, right? The people of said house, if I was going to do a exorcism on the property, not a person, but on the house, or if I were to banish whatever negative stuff that was in there, I would not want the family who resides there or anybody else who does not know how to protect themselves anywhere on that property, because this gets more complicated because it depends on if the spirit is landbound and or more free. In other words, it's not tied to that location. It could be banished, but not in the way that you would intend. In other words, instead of you banishing it, what it can do is actually attach itself to somebody else and then go home with them. So yeah, with protections, there should never be an issue with that. Unless the only time that I've seen protections backfire, I did a protection spell on somebody who at the time knew they had a negative attachment, just did not bother telling me, so that protection backfired in a way that it intensified the negative attachment, because it kind of, in a way, I kind of protected it and the person versus protecting the person, because I didn't know that person had a negative attachment to it. Have you ever done a lust glamour? No. No, I've never done a lust glamour. I love these live streams. This is like hanging out with family and friends. Oh, thank you so much. And honestly, same. I love them. Whoa. Thank you so much for that. Hold on. What are you doing? Okay, sorry about that. Bubbers, go. I'll move the book. Go. The crow, like, they normally do not come anywhere near the house. And this one, like, flew up, and it almost, like, tried landing on one of the tree branches right outside the window. That was cool. Okay. I don't know if you're happy, annoyed, or pissed off right now, but you're giving us a show. Okay. Sorry about that. ADD moment. But no, seriously, I do too. This is one of the reasons that I started doing these. Like, what originally, because when I started doing these lives, I was actually doing them on my personal Facebook page. Because I had just started disability, or the process of disability, and the agoraphobia had kicked in. So, like, I had to figure out a way to escape. So I started going live on there, and then somebody was like, yo, one of my friend Angels, he was like, yo, you're ready. You need to start teaching. And I'm like, what? And they're like, no, you're ready. You need to start teaching about witchcraft. And I'm like, no, the fuck I'm not. I'm not even fucking 30 yet. What the hell do you mean? And somehow it kind of started in the first few, the first few lives I had, like, mostly people that I'd already known. And then that kind of, like, because I used to share it in the Facebook groups, and it was before I kind of really jumped on TikTok. I mean, yeah, it was before I jumped on TikTok, and it was before YouTube, because I would take those lives and then turn around and re-upload them as videos. I don't know if it would work like this, but is it possible to go in the astral and do extra things before, after to enhance a spell? If so, can you explain how and why it works like that, or if it doesn't? I don't think I would be able to. I received SSI disability. It was a long, stressful process. Very long and stressful. Good teachers are also learning, in my opinion. Honestly, same. I think all good teachers, we learn every day. But to answer your question, I can't really answer that question because I don't really work to do anything with the astral realm. That's not really my thing, so I wouldn't know. And same with the disability process, because I have to refile completely again, because here in Florida, the last one that I did, it went to the federal case, and there are only, I think, 3 to 4 lawyers that will actually take on federal cases with disability, and either they were not taking anybody at that point, or they would never get back with me, and or they just didn't like my case, so I ran out of time, so now I have to refile. Okay, but why do you never go into the astral? How much time have you astral traveled, and what experiences have you had? I've probably astral traveled maybe 3 or 4 times, and not that many experiences. And it's just because for one, I never fully taught myself how to astral travel, due to the fact that when I was younger and did it, I got a leech attached to me, or an astro nasty is what I call. 3 times in the first 2. I've been denied 5 times total. This was my 5th time because I've been trying off and on since I was 13. But with the astraling traveling, if you don't have enough protection, and it really is, but if you don't have enough protection and you get an astral nasty is what I call it. It's basically a parasite. And they're extremely hard to get rid of because they basically um fuck yeah. They're basically kind of like a dark lighter. In other words, what I mean by that is like all the things that we hate, depression, anxiety, ADHD, all of these things, they make it 10 times worse. Like they can make a person who has never experienced anything like that go through a very severe episode of depression. You can also get other things. I'm going to say things. I'm not even going to say beings. You can get other things also either attach yourself to them or they can slip through as you're trying to come back. It can be very, very dangerous if a person doesn't know what they're doing. And some of the things that I've seen on some other platforms, I honestly do not think people are actually astro traveling as much as they're like daydreaming. Because there are some people that, unless they're extremely gifted, I don't understand how they taught themselves to astro travel, because astro traveling, it's in itself, it's like a practice. What I mean by that is it's not something, unless you are naturally gifted with it, it's not something that you can just do. It takes time and like months and hours and possibly years of doing the same meditations, doing the same tricks over and over again to actually project your spirit out of your body. Any signs of how you would know you have one? I was told I had one. Ooh, that I would say some Reiki practitioners should be able to identify it, and or any witch who specifically works with energy may be able to pick up on it. I wouldn't really use a pendulum, and if you were to try to like go to like tarot with it, I would go to a very, very trusted person that's non-biased to see what they say, and then possibly go to like 2 or 3 other ones, because what I mean by this is I don't want anybody to, with us talking about it, to get it in their head that that's what's causing some of the things in your life, and then automatically, basically in a way, self-hex yourself. Um, True, it had one person who it took 2 years to project out of the body. Okay, what are the entities, entitlements that you've seen in Astral? Can you describe? Personally, no. No offense when I say that, but no. Those are things that I don't really discuss because it's like very personal on a magical level. But I have heard crazy stories from my old roommate Alex. He was a we talked about this too. He does the as above so below oh my god, Hermeticism. He was Hermeticism magician. There we go. He didn't consider himself a witch. He was a magician. I've heard conversations that they've had, or he had, and there are apparently worlds, like full-on different worlds on the astral realm. Most people here recently that I've seen that try to astral project, they try to reach the Akasha records. And unpopular theory, you don't need somebody else to help you access your own records because they're yours. I believe the Akasha records, and when you access them, are those moments, especially if you have claircognizance, those moments where you just know things that you should not be able to know. I believe that is tapping into the fuck. My brain is shutting down slowly. The Akasha records. There we go. Now, what were the comments? A lot of awareness has to be practiced, and as a person with dissociation disorder, it can be similar effects, but in a very dangerous way for astral travel. Oh, thank you. And yes, seriously, very, very dangerous. And like, now with that, a lot of people hyper focus on astral travel, but there are so many other things that are technically not considered astral travel. Oh no, you're good. You're good. You're good. No harm, seriously. But there's also jumping the hedge. There's jumping the hedge. There's using flying ointment. And that's more using the poisonous path. There is, what is it called? All right, where'd the book go? Now I feel like that crazy librarian who's like looking for that one book. Okay, well I can't find the book for some fuck. Oh, no, there it is. No, it's in that one. Okay. There's another one where some traditional witches, they believe that using a skeleton key, you take off your skin, and thus by the process of taking off your skin, you can journey. I don't know the proper term to use that. I've learned a lot of out-of-body experience, and astral projections is the only escape from childhood abuse. Oh no, all good. We're just openly talking. So what are your favorite types of magic to do and why? Candle magic for one, anything to do with fire. I'm really good at love and fertility magic, which I've not figured that out yet, but I'm really good at them. Depending on the situations and stipulations with that, I'm really good at them. Um, I love making tinctures and teas. Um, couple other things I like doing that I'm not really gonna mention. Um, but yeah. With that though, I will be calling it for today because it's like we've been talking for about an hour and 50 and I've still got to eat. And then I set myself up for failure last night because the people that don't know, I have a second YouTube page, Blazed Lotus. That's Bluzzed. Um, of course, nice talking to you too. And I got 2 new products last night, so as I was in the moment, I posted on there that I would be making a product review. So after this and after I eat, I will probably be making a product review for that one. And then hopefully after that, I will be able to start the candles. And I think that's everything I have on my plate today. And obviously there's multiple other things that I'm not mentioning, but that's going to be my day so far. But yeah, today is Tuesday, which means Wednesday and Thursday I will be back on here. Friday, always up in the air. But yeah, thank y'all for everybody who has liked, shared, subscribed. Seriously, I'm growing at a rate that I did not really slowly, but I'm still growing. I was not expecting that. So yeah, thank y'all so much for that. And like I said, if y'all ever need to talk, you can message me, you can email me. Yes, exactly. Chat later on Discord, all of that. But until then, I love you all. Y'all are all magical. Thank you, and I hope you all have a great day too. And until then, peace.